WTHA, your weather authority. I'm meteorologist Joe Murdo from News Talk 970 WBLS.
So tell me you have some type of lead in. That's it, huh? Hey, friends, a pleasant good evening. Welcome to Lions Live on the only network built by the players for the fans. We're not a podcast. We're not pre-recorded. We're not pundits. We're not writers for newspapers or magazines. But we are the only network out there that's actually built by the players for the fans. You actually get to hear and get a unique perspective on Penn State football from the guys who actually played there. You're never going to hear commentary from somebody who's never played or put on the uniform here at Penn State. On with me is Kyle Bublis. My name's Skip Drivelbus, and we're thankful to be here with you here tonight on a wet Tuesday evening here in State College, Pennsylvania. I'm sure the practice is inside today. It's their first day back after a rough weekend loss here. Kyle, it sounds like Greg or Stefan's probably going to be coming in here with us, just joining us now.
Yo.
Hey, how are you, buddy?
Hey, man, doing good.
Yeah, that's Stephen Davis, folks. Stephen, we just came on here live, and we're going to be talking a little bit of Penn State football here. It's a wet, rainy night here in State College. I'm sure it's probably that way throughout most of the Commonwealth here, and it's a great day, and it's a great time in State College. But before we knock this off here, I've been saying all year long that Penn State's been one of the most fortunate teams in college football, and really they still are and we can be thankful because if you think about the way this season could have been for us, we could really be 1-4. So we have a lot to be thankful for, but we have a lot to learn from last week here. And Kyle, Stefan, which one do you like to kick it off here and give some thoughts about the game?
Well, we'll start with Kyle. Kyle's focused on all this stuff, and actually Kyle is right on point, and he's, of course, closest to, departing from the team, the program. I'd say give it to Kyle.
Kyle, you saw last week here, and Stefan's right. You can probably draw the biggest comparison from last year under Coach O'Brien to what you're seeing now under Coach Franklin. Last week, you touched on something that was kind of unique that I'd hope to expand upon more. Maybe we can do this tonight. We got next week too, before the Michigan game, to talk a little bit more about this. But you noticed from the program and the offense that Coach O'Brien had been maybe a little bit more sophisticated coming from the NFL side than Coach Franklin has coming in, because you notice some things with Hackenberg and the way he's audibilizing and calling the game. And before you comment on that, though, I'd like to get some thoughts just overall in general, what you've noticed from last week's game.
A couple of things surprised me. First off, the game was sort of close, and it was kind of like Indiana game last year where once one bad event happened, there was another one and then another one. For example, we through an interception, they scored a touchdown. They got sacked, or they sacked us. We fumbled it, they got it, and then we couldn't convert the 4th and 1. So a lot of it went downhill pretty fast, and so the score may not seem like that's the result of the game, I would say. But one of my question marks of the entire of the game was this 4th and 1. It was a pretty long one, and we had Bill Belt in the backfield, and he run the ball. And I just didn't see why we didn't put Zach Flanagan in there. He's more of a power running back. That's my sort of outcome of the game.
What do you think was the overall biggest? What do you think that was the biggest failure?
Biggest failure. I just think the team as a whole, they just weren't clicking together. I just think when we saw the defense go out after the fumble, they weren't too happy with the offense. And that's what you don't want as a team. You gotta have the one side still persevere and still go out there and try to make a stop, try to still keep a field goal instead of scoring in the end zone. So even if one team is having a struggle, the other team needs to step it up, and they need to get either points or they need to balance out a team score.
Do you think they were adapting to what Northwestern was bringing much, or do you think they just kind of missed it?
I think Northwestern was fired up. And like I mentioned last week, they had nothing to lose, so they were just done it. And you know what? They play everything out of the playbook. And I think Penn State kind of thought Northwestern wasn't going to be that kind of a big deal, I think. It's one of those games where you're not really so much pumped up for because, I mean, of course it's homecoming, but when you play and you don't think homecoming's that big for on the field. But it's kind of between the smaller Big Ten school. You had a you had some close games. I think they weren't quite ready for Northwestern.
Right. Yeah. It seems like they just weren't in step and they weren't in pace with what was happening out there. Do you think it was a matter of a lack of preparation, or do you think it was just more of a mental mindset?
I think you might get maybe mental because you play UMass and you get your offensive scoring, and it was one of the biggest blowouts they had, for a long time, and they're feeling really good, and then they're like, oh, we got Northwestern, they're kind of struggling, going into practice this week, they're like, okay. It might have been mental, I don't know, some of the calls are a little questionable about, but I just don't think they were ready to go.
Right. Yeah, I understand. Stefan, so what are some of your thoughts?
Well, I think I'm with Kyle almost 110%. I mean, I really would have thought, though, that there was time to get some things together. I thought by now there wouldn't be any question about a whole lot of other things. I think, for one thing, I have to mention, when we all go by our trade, Kyle was a defensive lineman, was an offensive lineman. It was just an absolute putrid effort by the offensive line. I am very